Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Welcome to Email Design Trends presented by WineGlass Marketing in partnership with Commerce7. I'm Tessa Davies. I'm the Commerce7's Growth and Event Marketing Manager. We've been putting on these expert partner webinars in an effort to continue to provide free quality content and maintain the great partnerships that we have. I'm very excited for today's webinar. There's lots for me to learn because it's definitely in my wheelhouse. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping notes. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to jot it down in the Q&A box. We'll have plenty of time to answer questions. And the session today is being recorded, so if you don't want to take notes, you don't have to. We will send that to you in a follow-up email. I won't delay us any further. Here's your presenter, Susan DeMatte, President of WineGlass Marketing. Take it away, Susan.
Thanks, Tessa. Thanks a lot for everybody joining. I am honored to be here. I've been watching a lot of their webinars. They're quite good and have a lot of information. So we are going to jump over to the PowerPoint slide. And today we're going to talk about email. First of all, just a quick introduction. I have an agency called WineGlass Marketing. We've been around for about 10 years. We have about 30 employees and, 60 or so clients. We specialize in the wine industry, though we do spirits and coffee and some other beverages. We also do a wide range of D2C and brand and 3-tier support. But our main deliverables are websites, social media, and also email. Now, email is still rated, if you look at the different channels that people have over the years, literally for the past 20 years, it's been rated as one of the most efficient marketing channels you can use. You get the highest cost per return on it. It's the cheapest to send. It's the most targetable. It's never been knocked out of that #1 slot when you look at surveys of marketing vehicles that businesses use, either B2C or B2B. So what we're going to talk about today is when we make recommendations to our clients, what are sort of the known rules? And we have literally like facts and research and things that we've pulled together that I can share with you that whenever we're talking to a client and a client's like, well, I don't like the headline this way, or I don't like the emoji in the subject line, we can come back and say, well, actually, this is the trend, or this is what data tells us. So we'll go through some of those. Then we're going to look at some email design trends that are going on right now. In a lot of these you'll recognize from your inbox. We're going to talk a little bit about automated emails, as those are really having their renaissance right now and really being very creative. And then we're going to touch on some technology advancements. And then at the end, I'm very happy if you want to do some chat questions. If you, I know that the chat's pulled up, you can go ahead and put questions there. Or, of course, you can also always email me at Susan@WineGlass Marketing. I'm also very happy to send you this deck. So let's dive in. When we make recommendations to clients, as I said, we usually don't do it sort of on like, well, we like that color, or we like, we think this looks good. We want the email to be opened, and we want people to click on it to go through to an action. And I'll say this again at the end, but the primary objective of an email is to get somebody to do something. If somebody opens up your email and just reads it, you really haven't accomplished anything. So 35%, let's talk about getting it opened first. And most people look at the subject line, and then they look at the little teaser text, and then they look at who is it from. So those 3 things are incredibly important in getting your email opened. And the who's from is usually an afterthought. Like sometimes it's like the tasting room manager throws their name or whatever. That's one of the most important things is to provide trust and who it's coming from. So you have over a third of emails are opened by just the subject line. Explanation points, don't yell. That actually hurts your open rate. We started doing that a lot in COVID. I guess it was our urgency to get our message out. We have seen a huge uptake because we actually monitor emails, and people using exclamation points has really gone up, and it hurts your open rate. Don't do it. Emojis actually help open rate. And if you read our last white paper, the number of emojis doesn't seem to matter, but I wouldn't go crazy. So emojis are actually a good thing in subject lines. They're not used so much right now. They kind of stand out in your inbox. And then the size of the subject line. Try to keep it really brief. Here's a quick, sorry, that's the length. There was a chart that was talking about open rates, and once you got over a certain amount of characters, it really strongly falls off. So try to keep them really short if you can, below 25 characters. Some other best practices. The navigation bar in an email is very critical, and we're going to talk about that when we get to design. But especially if you have a group of, say, consumers that are very focused on your website, and like a club that goes back and they order or they pick their choices for their clubs, they are comfortable with your site. And so the more you can sort of mimic that site in an email, the better response you're going to get. Social icons in your footer increase. This is social proof. You're a real company. You have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. That actually provides some comfort and value in your email designs. Remember to lead with emotional messages. A sale, a product feature, an award. All of those are nice that you got a good score, and then but try to lead with an emotion. There's tons of research out there that tell you that will be responded to better. Remember to do mobile first. Almost all emails now are read on the phone. And the other thing we've seen a pattern, we look at the days of the week when people are opening it. People will open emails in the midweek, set it aside, and then act on them on the weekend, because we see like high open rates like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but then we see pretty decent sales on like a Saturday. And I myself would do this. I'll find an email for something that is pair of shoes or a puzzle or a game or something that I want to buy, and I'll open it and I'll look at it and go, well, I'm in the line at the grocery store right now going through my thing. I'm just going to set it aside. Later on this weekend, when I have time, I'm going to pull out my credit card and actually buy it or use my Apple Pay. Buttons, please don't use links. I still see this a ton. It really hurts your click-through rate. If you have a linked text, try to do a button. If you can, it's really going to help your click-through rate immensely. And then try to keep the words for the copy pretty low. You don't need a lot of copy to get somebody to get off that email and get to your website, which is your main goal. You don't need to give them all the information. If you have a blog, if you have a recipe, write a couple paragraphs or a decent 2 sentences, and then click to read more. Your object is to get them to your site. Your object is not to communicate everything in that email. This is again talking about the email response by length, and this is the entire email. And you can see here that after a certain amount of words, the click-through rate goes down. Or it sort of stops. So what we want to do is we want to try to keep it around that sort of 50 to 100 words. Segmented campaigns, you all have heard this. They do a lot better. The most you can do to segment based on either behavioral pattern or purchase history or automated email funnels. You get a much better response rate, and you also get a much lower unsubscribe rate, which is also critical. Try to phrase your offers in a positive way. They do better when you think, I'm going to get this, versus you won't save that, or you won't lose that. We have done research, and Tuesdays is the highest click-through rate, open rate, and sales conversion. We've been playing around with different times of day. It doesn't seem to matter so much. In fact, there's a lot of research that we've been doing that show toward the end of the day on a Tuesday, because people sort of wind down their day and they go through their personal emails. Because again, remember, most of us have our personal and our business sort of merged together in our mail client. So there isn't really sort of a log in, log out like there used to be. Try to phrase your offers with the largest number. So 10% of $200 is the same, but it would be stronger if you said you get $20. So always try to, when you're looking at and trying to figure out how to word an offer, do it with the largest number possible. And in our brain, we think we're getting more, even though it's the same. And then my other thing here about buttons, I can't say enough about buttons. There's, I do a whole nother class on email design, and there's a lot of eye and psychological triggers, and there's a lot of eye tracker research that shows how powerful buttons are when they're surrounded by white space and how they stand out and why we want to click on them. So try to do buttons. Couple industry benchmarks we look at. 81% of the wineries that we work with send emails weekly. The wine industry average open rate right now is about 21%. Click-through rate is about 2%, and bounce rate is a little over 0.5%. If you're talking to your club, you usually should expect about twice the open rate and 4 times the click-through rate as your regular sales emails. Bounce rates have jumped 20%, and we've been seeing this as a continued trend, although it's starting to settle down. This was part of the Great Resignation and everybody changing jobs. So we've been doing a lot of data hygiene, and if you haven't done it in a while, you really should look at your lists. Maybe that's something you could do right before the holidays really hit you, so you have cleaned out a lot of that stuff. And then the industry average conversion rate for us is about 0.17% with an average of 10 orders an email. So as we said, when we talk to our clients, our underlying assumption is we want to get people to the website. So again, when we have this conversation all the time where they want to put the whole thing in the email, and it's like, no, you want to get them to the website. You want to get them deeper into your content and create engagement. So put links to read more, or links to, find out the full tasting notes online. If the email is just read and they go, oh, that was interesting, and they file it or delete it, have you really accomplished anything? So that was the statistics. I hope there were some little nuggets in there that were helpful. Now let's look at some pretty pictures. So current email design trends. The first one we're seeing is a real slimmed down sense of simplicity. Usually they only have maybe one sentence and a button. They might have a cute little headline. Sometimes they do use graphics and GIFs. We'll get into GIFs in a second. But they are a very streamlined, clean, there's not a lot of copy. It's basically bringing you one message on a platter. Is something we're seeing a lot. And I have house in here quite a few times, and I'm very sorry that they are being sold. But anyway, the other thing we're seeing, second trend, is basically kind of being dorky. We're seeing a lot. I particularly love this one with the sea otters. Fun fact: sea otters hold each other's paws while they sleep to prevent them from floating away. Awesome fact: you save $40 on all plans. This was a Grammarly email. And Grammarly it's a software that checks your grammar as you talk. It's a fabulous software, by the way. We love it. But I just thought it, you talk about something that's dry, that's like the most boring thing ever. And they do like these super cute little emails. The paper company here with the little handwritten notes and the curlicue arrows, and then the flying cupcakes with the olive oil company. So this sort of hint of whimsy and kind of silliness. And I don't know whether this is a response to sort of our current environment, but I'm definitely seeing more humor and just kind of unashamed being kind of a nerd, and doing kind of silly things. We're seeing a lot of emails like that with a lot of different brands that you wouldn't expect that from. Compartmentalizing. This is a big trend right now. And once you start looking for this, every single email you see will like jump out at you. There are rounded boxes. There are boxes within boxes. There are horizontal boxes. There are vertical boxes. This trend toward putting everything in little boxes is very strong right now. It's a response of also trying to look at bring the web into the email design and kind of making them the same sort of look and feel, because web pages are compartmentalized like that. It also helps your eye jump from topic to topic. So if you have if you have 2 or 3 different things you want to explain to somebody, like for instance, this email here on the right, they want to talk about the soil and 4 different points of it. Rather than listing copy that has 4 different points, they're just going to show 4 simple images, and put them in little boxes so that we can jump around and we can capture them easy, and it's not something we have to wade through in text. Interactivity is something we're also going to talk about that when we get to technology. So these animated GIFs, let's talk about animated GIFs. They are really on trend right now. A lot of people are using them. Where they are the most, my little Elk Cove one isn't working. The Elk Cove one was super cute. It had all the candy moving around it. But the all 3 of these, and here's House. I'm going to miss their emails. They had such great marketing. They bring out the point of the message. It's not just animation for animation's sake. It's actually showing you the product. It's making you want the product. The House one is particularly strong because it puts you in the point of view of consuming the product, which is always a good thing. Actually, the 1111 one does sort of too. There's a reason that car ads on TV always show the cockpit, because they want you as a consumer to imagine using that product. And so when you have a GIF, an animated GIF, and you can do something like either the House or the 1111 here, and you can kind of, I see myself opening that chocolate, or I see myself making that cocktail. And then in the Elk Cove one, it's really talking about it was an ad for Halloween, and it was all the different, the copy was all the different candy and stuff you could pair with this particular Riesling. So it made sense with the concept. It wasn't just like, I'm going to make the logo dance kind of thing. So that's my blurb on GIFs, is that they're particularly useful when you use them to support your main message. Another thing that's kind of interesting, if you start to look, is a lot of going back, and sort of the Stranger Things effect of we want to go back in time. And I've been seeing a lot of emails that are picking up, in this particular case, we have sort of the 80s with Ease. We have the 20s with Behringer, and then like sort of the 40s with Harry and David. And it's a nod back to a simpler time, and there's a lot of nostalgic themes going through our media, our movies. They just remade Top Gun. There's a big nostalgia trend right now, so be on the lookout for that, and that's something you can play into when you're doing your design and making your decisions. Typography. Typography is always fun, especially if you don't have a good bottle shot. That can alone be your style. I've been seeing a lot of type over images, type as the image, or sometimes it's just fun type. So this is definitely an option for you to play around with. And it kind of, it opens up your frame a little bit, and it gives it sort of a larger than life feeling, because the text is so large and taking center stage. icons. Icons are huge right now. Probably stemming from, the culture of texting. But I swear to God, in 20 years, we're going to be a culture that doesn't even use words. We're just going to use pictures for everything. They're everywhere. This particular, the RH Gantville was, that one is a little over the top with the icons. I just noticed Sephora just redid their whole website, and they're all icons now, really cleverly used. But you will see these used everywhere, and it's a picture is worth 1,000 words. Rather than writing, all of the things you need to, you can just show, a picture, and people kind of get, oh yeah, that's where I go to get this information. This has been another big change. If you look at people's headers, they are really, really pared down. We used to have there was the logo, and there was a picture behind it, and then there was the nav bar, and it's now if you start looking, it's literally just the center logo is becoming the standard. My favorite, or my favorite here is the apple, which is the middle one on the right side. It's literally, they don't even use their name. They just have a little tiny gray apple. But it's very minimalistic. So if you do have your nav is dumbed down. And it is, you don't have to, that's the other thing, is you don't have to put everything in your nav that's on your website in your email. So your email doesn't need to have the trade page, that type of thing, unless it's a trade email. But if you just want to have wine and visit, that's pretty much in the club, maybe are the main ones. But this trend right now of the very, very simple headers is somewhere we're taking most of our clients to. Speaking of navigation has, in the Harry and David example here, yes, it is straight across and sometimes used at the top, but not always. You will see it listed on the bottom, like in the Chanel here on the upper left. This is very much like a footer in a website. So copying that footer over and putting your navigation in the footer is something people are doing. Actually bucketing it into sections like the Abercrombie, where you have a group, maybe you have your red wines, your club only wines, or your event list, putting them, so people can go to rather than the actual nav words, they're going to that section. Helps. The top right there also does that, where they put things in chunks. This was for imprint. And it talks about how it's not going to give you the whole nav because their nav is huge. So they're going to chunk that for you. This was VinePair in the middle here. They did the same thing. And then you got the Comcast and the Harry and David, and they dumbed down their navigation. And especially in the Comcast business, I love the one, they actually change their nav to be like action items that you would want to do off of that email, like make a payment. That's not one of their navs. So think creatively about your nav, and really think about, again, you want somebody to do an action off that email. What do you want them to do, and how can you funnel them there? The nav location, no, I don't have that on here. The nav location also changes around. The for imprint one in the upper right was actually in the middle of the email, as was the VinePair one with the liquor. So they had some content, and then they had the stripe in the middle that had the different areas you could go to, and then they had more content, and then their footer. The Comcast and the Harry and David had the information at the top, and the Chanel and Abercrombie had their nav at the bottom. So you now are really free to put this sort of navigational information almost anywhere that fits and makes sense in your communication. Okay, well, let's talk about automated emails. So automated emails are opened and acted on like 3 times as much as a regular marketing email. So an automated email would be something like your receipt, or your thank you for signing up for the club, or thank you for signing up for the mailing. Your credit card is expired. Those are just automated system emails. And so a couple of trends here are making the most of them. Make sure you're using them to the best of your ability to do cross-selling. And I'm going to give you several different examples here. This is a store that I like. It's a European store, and I've ordered something. Excuse me. And this was my thank you. And instead of just sending a receipt, they immediately sent this and said, "Thank you for ordering." And they gave me some information, and they said, "Here's your, you're going to get your order within 5 business days. And if you have any questions," they're actually really upfront. And like, if you need to make a return, which I thought was kind of bold, because already they're saying like, but they're giving me all the power and all the information I might need. And I can learn more about, my options or questions about my order. And it's going to take me to my order section there at the bottom. But then it says, "You want something else? We have a new collection every month." And they're starting to show not only the new, I can go directly to the new products. So that's a nice thing, is that they have everything new that they know I haven't seen separated for me. And then also they've kind of done a regular Facebook lookalike sort of, and people who like what you bought also would like these, like an affinity targeting. And they show me some other things people would buy. And it also, and they know this because they looked at my surfing too, and they know what I looked at. So this was something where it was just a really quick, like shipping notification almost. And they turned it into a very strong and very targeted system email that was a sales email. Here is one when I didn't even buy anything. I just went to the site, and you can see the navigation is the same, and the logo is the same. The footer and the services are the same, but the middle sections are, they just have "thanks for stopping by," and then they show me what I looked at, and then they say "new styles arriving daily" again, and they show me again an affinity. Like, if you were looking at these are also what people have purchased. So again, this was just a very simple, and this is something anybody could do with the right tool. Here's one from Open Table that's very similar, where they ask me to review. So this could be something after they go to your tasting room. "How was it? Would you like to write a review?" And then they say, these are, because they knew that I went to Compline, these were again affinity recommendations. The other people have liked these as well by that restaurant, and they give me some suggestions. So this is just 3 examples of cross-selling, where you have a shipping notification, you have a "thanks for visiting," and you have a "please write a review," and they've all been very thoughtfully rolled into a sales opportunity using very minimal data. So Sephora is another one. Even if you don't buy makeup, I would sign up for the Sephora newsletter, because they're just so brilliant. So let's break this email down. They target it by purchase, right? So I bought the clean and cleansing gentle exfoliating wipes for $6, right? $6 product. And you usually run out of things, right? Including wine. And so they're saying, "Hey, it's been a while since you bought this. You better order it again. Replace your cleanser, and your routine won't know the difference. Shop now." And then I love this. It says, and it also gives me a picture of it, which is key, because what if I didn't remember? What if they just said your wipes or whatever, your makeup remover? It gives me a picture to remind me, oh yeah, that was that product. But then this is also brilliant. It says, "Are you not ready yet? Why don't you set a calendar reminder?" Which blows my mind. So I'm actually going to set a reminder in my own personal calendar to buy something from you. Okay, yes, please. Then they have the cross-selling suggestions. There's more from Sephora, which is the same brand, or do I want to try something new from other brands? And these are probably, I'm sure they have some algorithm that's telling me that these are affiliated products. Then they have a quiz, which is an engagement tool to get me to interact and maybe go to the website, and a store locator. And then they have the reminder of points, which I'll talk about in the text section. But it's got so much going on, and this was literally, it's super targeted, but it doesn't really it doesn't really have a reason to be, but it's so much information for me that I love it, and I would definitely, I actually think I did buy more. Humor is another thing. Emails have gotten to be very casual and humorous. I liked this one here on the left that was be a follower, and they were asking you to follow them on Instagram. And then Uncommon Goods, I love the headline. It was wait a minute, you forgot something, and we say, don't forget these. And I happened to be, yes, I will admit it, I was looking at a dog face pillow, but sadly they did not have bulldogs. So boo on Uncommon Goods, and I wish they would make a bulldog one because I would buy 10. So these sort of acknowledge, one of the things I like about these is they kind of acknowledge that these little administrative emails are kind of annoying. So they just make them funny. And this is a big trend. I've been seeing a lot of laughable ones where you're trying to make, hey, you forgot your, whatever, funny, and get a rise out of people. Keeping things very simple. This one here, these were some glasses that I think I had in my favorites or something like that. And it was like, hey, these are almost sold out. Try any pair for 30 days with your prescription. This is something, we go into this, like if we're running out of Chardonnay, we feel like we need to like give all the tasting notes and the whole history of the Chardonnay grape practically down to the vineyard. And you could probably, for your key buyers, you could probably just say, hey, last 10 cases, move now. The Ease does great emails as well. They have a great brand and are very humorous. Forget your password, it happens to the best of us. Click the button, reset your password, boom, done. So they have a little picture of their product there. They are a dispensary. So it's very clear and to the point. People don't need, a ton of information when they want to reset their password. The other thing that's interesting here is, especially for the password one, that is one I would not do a cross sell on, because that is purely like, I just need that link, and I just want to reset it. So you don't have to put a cross sell or really overthink a lot of these. Some of these administrative emails should be very blunt and to the point. So let's look at some tech trends. So brand indication messaging. This is called BB. And what this is if you look here on the right-hand side, this is a picture of my inbox. And you can see that LinkedIn, Expedia, and down here, Asana, all have little icons. And this is a new ability to put your icon when you send an email. This is growing very fast. We're going to see a lot more companies have this. It protects your email from being spoofed because people know, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't have the little, LinkedIn or Expedia. And you can increase, obviously, brand visibility because your brand shows up in their inbox, which they're probably living and breathing and dying with every day. So, the other ones are coming up, just as the icon of their name. But you will be seeing more and more of these as it progresses. It's growing very fast. We talked a little bit about segmentation, but really micro segmentation with artificial intelligence. That's a great example of the Sephora email, where they really knew, they knew what I had purchased in the past and my frequency, and the points and everything they have it all set up by content and by demographic information. So for instance, you can use anything of demographic, geographic, psychographic, or behavioral, any of that type of information, and use that in your automated campaigns to really get that segment and talk to people almost individually. This is where email's going. And we're going to get to the point where you're almost loading up a whole bunch of options and then letting your campaign go, and everybody's going to get kind of a slightly different email. Here's an example. Again, I told you I'd talk about the Sephora Beauty Insider. They have it programmed here at the bottom of every email. They have 3 levels, which really mean nothing, to be honest. I don't think you even get that much better benefits, but you're either a Beauty Insider, a VIB, or a Rouge. And they're telling me here that if I spend $2 more, I'm going to get to the next tier, right? And then if you noticed on the other one, I actually spent the $2 and I was in the VIB tier. So I've talked to somebody who knows somebody in the marketing department of Sephora, because I really wanted to know how they did this, and they actually built their own custom engine to do this. But it's so powerful, because you look at your points and you look and see where you are, and you're like, yeah, I can, and it cuts off at the end of the year, so you'll start to get reminder messages, and you can use the points for basically their free samples they were going to send away anyway. It's so brilliant. But this is an example of really getting into hyper targeting, and every single person's going to be at a different level, and you're going to feed that in, and this little bar moves as to where you are in the continuum. Dark mode. Dark mode is almost becoming more popular than regular. Dark mode means that you have to code your emails so that they can be read in dark mode. What does that mean? It means when you have a black logo, you have to put some sort of line around it. You really shouldn't use colored backgrounds, and you don't hard code your font color to be black or dark. So let me show you some examples of this. So on the left is the Sony Music email. Again, notice how clean that header is. They have their navigation in the footer. And on the right, I've switched to dark mode, and it doesn't really matter. They have their text coded correctly where it changes. They have their button coded correctly where it changes. Everything works, and you can read everything, and it's not that big of a difference. This is CNN's email, and so CNN's they have their links coded in red, which also work on the dark mode. They have taken the 5 things that is in black, and they have outlined it so that you can still read it in dark mode. And then everything else is not hard coded. And also the number 1 down there at the bottom, their first article. So they've made design decisions so that you can read it and it looks fine in dark mode. Gucci, on the other hand, did not. So the Gucci logo is completely lost. They did do the navigation. They didn't do their headline because it's black on black, and they just did that. So that's hard coded to be black for some reason, rather than the text, which is set to determine what the browser is and show something appropriate. So this is a great example of some decisions you can make that have really, it's almost unlegible. It is unlegible if for the half of people that are using dark mode. And this is really going to hurt your click-through rates, obviously. Gamification. Emails are getting so technically advanced, not only with the segmentation, but the interactivity within them. So this is something, if you really want to go, and again, I question the use of these because you don't really go anywhere. You play in the email. So I've kind of, and I think I don't know that it's appropriate for what we're trying to do in the wine industry, but it's interesting if you start looking at some of the things that, maybe if it's more like a brand awareness, but you could do games. This is all right in emails. You can do games, you can have multiple choices. You can do little, this was the little holiday game that they did with the car. You can actually move with your mouse and drive the car around. The best, I would say the best use for us would be maybe something where you did the scratch off, like the one on the right here. That would make sense. Because then you can click and you could go do your offer. And but all of these, the idea is it's greater engagement within the email itself. And there's all sorts of things you can deliver now in somebody's email box. And then I didn't upload the videos for all of these, but the other thing we can do that we didn't used to be able to do is actually play a video in an email. You can now deliver a packaged up video right in an email. It's longer than a GIF and smoother. And if you want to explain something, again, I would think about your objective. And if you want to get somebody to your website to buy your wine, I probably would put a video about the vineyard in an email, because they're just going to watch the email and then leave. But when you're thinking about your objective, and it does make sense, this is an option to you of putting video and email. So this is wrapping up. In summary, I would really suggest you push your email contents and creative writing, GIFs. Think about the objective of this communication, and there's so many more tools out there that are used to it, that are available to us than used to be. So really, push the boundaries of what you've done and test different things. Try a GIF, try something else, a little video clip or something, to get some interactivity and some engagement in your emails. Remember what your objective is, and make sure that whatever you are doing is paying off what you want them to do. If you want them to go buy the wine, do everything in that email should be focused on getting them out of the email and to buy the wine. Don't be afraid to show your personality. A lot of retail brands are doing that now. They're dropping a lot of the formal speech. So this, depending on your brand, be yourself, and it doesn't, especially in the administrative emails, it doesn't have to be so formal. And then use your best practices. I listed several of them at the beginning. So, those are some guiding principles. Everybody might have something slightly, different, or a reason you don't want to do it for your own brand. But as a rule, those are some good guiding principles to follow. That's all I have today. Again, this is our contact information if anybody wants this deck, and I think Tessa has it as well. And you can certainly contact us, and I'm glad to answer any questions. Did anything come up we've got a bunch of stuff in chat.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that, Susan. That was fantastic. Yeah, we will send out the slide deck with the recording as well. Natasha says, more on setting up Bimmy, please.
Oh, it's actually, I would look into the code of it. And there's a long tutorial on Google that I saw in a YouTube video on it. But I would look for that, and then I would also maybe talk to your email professional if you are using an outside, or somebody in your. But if somebody is in your team, I would have them research it.
Excellent. Okay. And Rachel says, I would love to learn how to properly code email colors so they work in both light and dark mode.
Okay. Again, another thing you can Google that would tell you how to do that. We can, if you want to reach out to us offline, I can have, we could go through that. But I know that there's almost Google tutorials on anything.
Yeah. When in doubt, Google. And what do you, Susan, what do you use for your most common email platform, like MailChimp or
We use whatever our clients have.
Yeah.
Most of them use MailChimp.
Yeah,
We have a couple that are on Klaviyo.
Constant Contact?
Very few.
Yeah.
Maybe one. But most of them are MailChimp. In MailChimp, you can get very complex funnels, if this, then that, if they open this, if they do that. So you can get kind of detailed, it has a lot of power to it. You got to spend some time in it.
Yeah.
And then there is a question, is there a way to do the Commerce7 system in action emails? You absolutely can do what we showed you here. We've done several of them that have come to us. If you're in Commerce7, you can customize, you can have cross-selling, all sorts of design options there.
Yeah, and we'll follow up with a more detailed email for you there, Ashley. And also MailChimp integrates with the Commerce7 software as well. Ryan says, any tips on getting emails to land in main email boxes versus spam folders? Seems a lot of marketing is filtered more these days.
Yeah, for some of our clients, we do basically we go through, you guys are asking a lot of technical questions. We go through the name server and we get it whitelisted so that it's approved and it's seen as a valid. I'm not entirely sure what Lewis does, but he has a process that when we're having a client that has a problem with that, he gets on the phone with GoDaddy or whoever, and he gets it sort of, a AAA rating, whatever, so that it delivers better. But you can do it working with the name server.
Yeah, you need a technical magician.
Yeah. I just say, Lewis, do that thing.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Are there any further questions? Feel free to pop it in chat. We've got a couple more minutes here with Susan. If you have any design questions. I loved all those examples you provided. I got some ideas as well. And yeah. I love when the images overlap and they go, it's more fluid.
Yeah.
One sort of piece. It's not chunky and blocky. So I really like seeing that that's a trend right now because it's a lot nicer on the eyes.
How we typically, if you were coming to us and asking us to update the Commerce7 system emails, what I would recommend is pull all the copy and look at the copy and then make that copy your own, right? So whatever out of the box they gave you is factually correct, but it's probably not your personality. So at the very least, look at the copy in all of those, and make that your own brand. Then you could look through each of them and say, what is the cross-selling or what are the other opportunities here? So when I'm sending a receipt, can I say, why don't you join the club or, come visit us sometime? When they've, but think about the individual ones and don't put it everywhere, because if it's a receipt to join the club, you don't want to have the cross-sell of why don't you join the club? There you want to have a cross-sell of why don't you come in? We love our club members, come in to visit us. So there's a logical sort of cross-sell to the message would be the next step. And then we typically would design them and then upload them. And we just design them in Photoshop or Dreamweaver. And but you can do almost anything there. The Commerce7 system is very, very flexible that way.
Thank you. And then Heather just asked, do you prefer MailChimp over Constant Contact? I do.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Constant Contact came out first, did it not?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I think vertical response did, and then Constant Contact.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. But yeah, MailChimp is a little bit user-friendly. It's more intuitive. I feel like anyone can use it. It's it's a very good step-by-step process. But I haven't used Constant Contact in years, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I would say I do mostly because it's familiarity. You know, I have never stood back and like looked at feature per feature of it.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, well, that's all the questions from the chat. Thank you so much, Susan, for taking the time today, and all of you for tuning in. We will be sending out the recording and the slides. If you're interested in attending more of these expert partner webinars, stay tuned to Commerce7's bi-monthly newsletter to our social channels for any updates. And we will be having some more in the next couple months, so please stay tuned. And thanks, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much, Susan.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Take care.